Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gentle Business Space podcast. I'm Fabi, I'm a coach and systems expert, and I support other female business owners build and create a sustainable business that helps them grow without burning out through the right systems and support. And today's topic is all around gratitude and appreciating how far you've actually come. And as I'm recording this is autumn, we're kind of transitioning into that slower, gentler season of the year. However, I know business related usually it gets quite busy around this time. But generally, autumn, I think about slowing down, connecting to gratitude, and appreciating what the year has brought so far. And it's similar in business, having that time and space to reflect and to pause and to appreciate how far we've come instead of pushing forward. And I talk a lot about this within the kind of bigger context of kind of seasonal approach to working, where we kind of reflect phases like in the seasons, the spring for planning, the summer for doing, autumn for pausing and reflecting and gratitude, and winter for resting. I will talk about this in a different episode, but I really like this kind of approach. I think it's a great example of how we can work in a gentler way. But just one aspect of this is the part of appreciation, of connecting to gratitude of what we've actually accomplished. And I think that gets missed a lot. I know for myself, this is one step that I tend to skip so much, and I know it's the case with a lot of other people as well. So that's why I wanted to focus on that in today's episode. I think we can easily get kind of caught up in that feeling of not enough, of always looking for another goal, a next achievement, a new training to do, of a new project. Especially, when you run your own business, you continuously thrive to do more. Usually you want to achieve that next goal, you want to maybe earn more. And also that feeling of, kind of alongside that, sometimes that feeling of not knowing enough, therefore keep doing more trainings, new courses, always learning more. So there's this kind of loop of not enough. And we're so focused on what's ahead of everything we still want to achieve without ever pausing. And it's really not surprising that for one we feel that way, because if we spend a little bit of time online, there's always more pressure of achieving more. There's always reminders of do this next, do this course next, do this training next. You should be earning this, you should be doing this. So that external pressure is really high. So it's not surprising that we get stuck in that kind of overwhelm of not feeling enough, never having enough, and really getting lost in that as well sometimes and getting overwhelmed by that. So if you're experiencing that, you're not alone, definitely not. And I think sometimes it's good to come back to the process, to slowing down a little bit, to taking a step back and to pause. And we can gently maybe shift from what's missing, what haven't I achieved yet, to what's already there. What have I achieved? What have I accomplished? How far have I come? Because sometimes, I think I saw a quote sometimes, I really loved it. It was, it was basically about where you are now. This is what you dreamed about being at a year ago, 2 years ago. And that is so true for many of us. Yet we forget that. We keep thinking, oh, actually, I still want to earn more. I still want to do this. I still want to do more. And that's all fine. But I think we do need to pause and really acknowledge how far you've actually come. And it's just such a gentle way of shifting, of softening a little bit and reconnecting to that grounding and steadiness. So instead of that kind of heightened feeling of, I need more, I need to do more, it's settling a little bit in the body. It's slowing down, it's coming back to ourselves, to our body, really noticing that gratitude within us. And a few ways of doing that so we don't forget it, because it's easily forgotten, is maybe to have a, monthly or weekly or even daily list of things that you've achieved that day, that week, that month, because that can be forgotten. Even if I do it quarterly, I sometimes can't remember what I've really done that month. So it's good to take a little bit of time on a regular basis, however it works for you, to just write some things down that you've achieved during the day. I think even the small things during the day that we forget about, it's good to write them down. Our achievements throughout the week, throughout the month. And I'm not just talking about really big achievements of signing up a new client or launching a new course. These are all great and also need to be acknowledged. But also the small things, the taking care of myself today, drunk enough water today, taking a pause today during work. I didn't work through the day. I made changes to a hard plan. Instead of crowding in this new project, instead I took some time and actually listened what I actually needed. I planned in some time instead, some free space. So whatever it is, all those seemingly small things really add up to a lot, and those little shifts really amount to big changes. And it's great when we can really acknowledge them. And then another thing as well, which I really like doing, especially if we get caught up in the I don't know enough, I'm not experienced enough, and who am I to do this kind of loop, I would invite you to write down all the trainings you've done in your life, all the experiences you've gathered, all the small steps that you've taken to get to where you are now. And they are going to be way more than we acknowledge in the moment. And I think sometimes it's good to really reflect on that, to notice that, to see that, instead of downplaying what we've achieved and go, yeah, that's fun. I think we downplay a lot. So really taking time to acknowledge that, noticing how that impacted where you are now. And again, reconnecting to that gratitude of how far you've actually come. And again, with the kind of coming back to the list of writing down all the achievements, but really celebrating all those tiny shifts, all those accomplishments, all the new boundaries that you're setting, all the systems that you're implementing, all the time you're saying no, all the time you're saying yes to resting. All these things that seem tiny are really big. And really allowing yourself to celebrate that. And the celebration can look however you like it to look like. Maybe it's just acknowledging it. Maybe that's the first step to 10. Or maybe you want to treat yourself to something. Really, and that might obviously differ. Maybe it's a big launch and you really want to treat yourself, really celebrating what you've done instead of just moving on to the next thing, what we do a lot of the times. Instead, pausing, really celebrating that you've achieved something big. So that might be for, the bigger events or big business milestones or whatever it is. Maybe there's really a big celebration you wanna have, or way of treating yourself. But even for all the small things, maybe there's a way or a ritual you can invite to really acknowledge it and celebrate what you've achieved. And maybe that's just pausing or journaling a little bit around it, or whatever it is that works for you. Maybe taking a walk, really thinking about it and noticing in your body what you've achieved and what you're grateful for and what you're celebrating with that. And I think in business, it's so important that we do that, so we don't just keep moving on to the next thing with downplaying our achievements. Because as I said, it is so easy to just move from one thing to the next. launch one course. It's going well. Even if it isn't, you've still done it. You've gathered experience. You know, I think sometimes just to focus on that end outcome. Yes, maybe you didn't sign up 10 people for your course. Maybe you signed up 1 or 2, or even if you haven't signed up any, you still gained experience. You still learned something. You've tried something new. And these are all things we can appreciate, we can acknowledge. And instead of just moving on straight to the next thing, really noticing that gratitude. And it allows us to slow down, to find that steadiness instead of that heightened space of always more, always doing new things. And it always reconnects us to our values, what's important to us, and that space of gratitude. And instead of always comparing ourselves to what other people are doing, should I be doing more? But it rather brings us back to ourselves. And with that, I do think it has a big impact on helping us prevent burnout, on overwhelming, because it brings us back to that balance of slowing down a little bit, of taking one step at a time and enjoying the process along the way. So we're not just focused on doing more all the time, but actually enjoying the process. And with that, I would love to invite you. Maybe there's something you can reflect on today. What are you proud of from the last month or the last year or last quarter that you haven't celebrated yet? Or maybe you have celebrated it. Maybe you want to celebrate it a little bit more. Maybe you want to write a list of things that you're grateful for. And if you like, feel free to share any wins, any small shifts that you made, anything that made an impact. So anything you want to celebrate, feel free to share. And yeah, I'd love to just invite you to take a little bit of time out today or whenever you have time to connect to that gratitude, especially as we're in this month of autumn, of slowing down, finding that little bit of space to slow down, to connect to all the great achievements, big and small, that you had this year, this month, or even over the past years. And hopefully also help you with that to slow down a little bit, so we don't get too much caught up in that busyness of September, of autumn, that kind of end of year rush that can be quite present when you're running a business. So maybe it allows you to take a little bit of time to slow down this month, to connect to that gratitude and appreciation of how far you've actually come, and move a little bit away from that feeling of not enough, instead of seeing how much you've achieved. So as always, I would love to know your insights from today's episode. What are you taking away? As I said, feel free to share any wins, any shifts, anything that kind of come up for you. I always love to know. And thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again soon in another episode. Take care.